Hey everybody, just getting a nice amount of rain today. It's kind of misty out, and we've had rain for a couple of days and been collecting it in these buckets here and brewing up some compost tea. But I actually wanted to talk to you about one of the permaculture principles that I think everybody should be using and really understanding, and really I just want to define that, and that is use edges and value the marginal. And you might be thinking, well, what the frig does that mean? And if we look at population growth, if we look at diversity, hold up, there's some wind. We see a lot more diverse ecosystems on the edges of mountain ranges or large water bodies. But here's a great example of edges and marginals. And this house, growing these beds, obtaining an early yield of whatever it is you're growing. And these walls of your house, they emit heat. They take in heat all day, and then they release it at night. And I notice these beds in the early spring, before anything wakes up, things are popping up in these beds. And that's one small example. And you may think, well, I don't live next to a lake, or I don't live next to a mountain, and you don't have to. Like, I'm in a suburban area, and believe me, there's so many things about this area that come into context when we're talking about edges and the marginal. But for people in suburban areas, we have the potential to get early yields, to have protection from animals grazing on your food and eating it, nibbling it. We have all these little edges and nooks and crannies where we can create microclimates, shady, cool microclimates on the north side of your home, or, south-facing ones where you can grow things that normally wouldn't do well in your zone. We have windbreaks from fences and people's cedar hedges and brick walls and concrete that emits heat. We have an opportunity to collect tons and tons of snow that the snow plows throw off the road, and we can shovel it onto our fruit trees. Or we have the opportunity to collect water from our rooftops or our sheds and store it. And these are all examples of edges and the marginal. But one thing you can notice is that no matter where you are, you're going to see some differences. And I'll give you an example. So I'm in a suburban area. I'm surrounded by brick houses and grass lawns. But I'm also close to dog walking trails, parks. I'm close to a big body of water, quite a few bodies of water, actually. The city I live in is surrounded by a big hill. It's central to many different places. It's in the middle of several large bodies of water. And this has a lot of advantages, and it can have some disadvantages. But it depends on how you look at it. We get a lot of strong northeastern winds, and winds coming from all directions, actually. Especially the wind coming off the lake. We also get a good amount of rainfall from evaporation and solar gain from our lakes. But here's an example. There's a lake right across the street from me. And in the winter, the winds that channel through this park and hit the south face of my area are extremely cold, brutally cold. I've seen the thermometer drop to minus 42 with wind chill, which is freezing cold. But at the same time, you have to think, like a lot of things get windburn, a lot of things can suffer damage during heavy storms, and wouldn't do well with that kind of wind and cold. But if you grew hazelnuts along the road, that lake, you would have enough wind to get enough pollination. You would have solar gain from the lake, so you could wake up the buds and help form nuts on the trees. And that's just a small example. So look around your own property, whether you live in a suburban area or you live in an urban area or you live in a rural area. Find out what works and where it works and what context you can put something in. And I'm sure you're going to attain a yield. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening.